Divorce takes a really long time, and you're not just sitting on your couch waiting to get divorced, you're still living your life. And one of the biggest pieces of a divorce is where in the world you're going to live with your family, with your kids. Hey guys, my name's Rebecca Green. I'm a divorce real estate specialist, and today we're sitting down with Jamie Brown.
Hi.
She is an expert when it comes to all things title. And in a normal real estate transaction, that kind of just happens in the background. It's not a really big deal. But when you're getting divorced and there's all different pieces and components of who owns a house and who's buying a house, we get really friendly with some really expert title company. And so today, I'm going to spend a little bit of time interviewing Jamie and talking specifically about what happens when you buy a house and you're in the middle of a divorce. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay, before we get started, would you just tell everybody a little bit about who you are and how you're so
How
wonderful?
I'm here. Yeah.
You're so great.
My name is Jamie Brown, and I own Prestige Land Title. I have about 25 years of experience in the title industry. And divorcing couples is actually one of my favorite closings to do. It's kind of a fresh start and an exciting time. It can be for both parties to start over again. Divorcing is very easily managed through the closing process with the right experienced title company.
100%. So let's just start off. One of the biggest questions that I get from people, and I just think it's uneducated a lot of times, is people think that they can't buy a house while they're getting divorced.
Yeah, that is inaccurate. You can indeed buy a house while you're getting divorced, provided that your financials lay out correctly for either a lender or a cash purchase, whatever your particular financial situation is. But as far as title goes, you can indeed buy a house. You will be going into title as a quote married person since you are still legally married to your spouse. And so if you purchase real property while you're still legally married, then your spouse does have an interest in that property. So we tell people there is absolutely no harm in purchasing a home while you're mid-divorce. You just need to be sure that your divorce attorneys are both aware of that, because typically what we'll see is somebody is keeping the marital home and somebody is purchasing a new home. And so you want to do like a quid pro quo, like I will deed off this marital home, but you're going to deed off and release that marital interest on your new property.
Yep, that's exactly right. And in my personal divorce decree, it says my ex-husband purchased a home while we were going through the divorce. And it literally says this house is excluded from the sale.
Right.
And that, I think, is why I even reached out to you to start with, was like, don't I still have an interest? Because typically when you buy a house, you either buy it ASP as a single person or AMP as a married person.
Right.
We'd been separated for over a year, but I was still a married person. So legally, when he bought the house, he was a married person too, right?
That is, and what ends up happening is that further down the line, these are the nightmare stories that we run into. Further down the line, you'll end up, going to sell that house. If ex-husband goes to sell that house and she hasn't deeded off, then we as the title company get to deliver the news to them that, hey, your spouse or your ex-spouse still has a marital interest and they're going to need to deed off before you can sell it to a new buyer. That is usually not news that we enjoy delivering. It's usually not welcomed by most. And the biggest thing that really gets awkward is that if the ex-spouse is now remarried, then they also have to join in on that deed. And that's usually kind of where the rubber hits the road.
So just to clarify, it could be that you and I just got divorced 10 years ago. You're ready to sell the house you bought while we were getting divorced.
Yeah.
Now me, you, and my new husband all get to meet together at the title company.
So so we have had a lot of situations like this where, like, obviously, like your ex would be willing to sign, but maybe the new wife is like, I don't even think so.
Right.
Why are you talking to me about this? I don't even know / like this person.
I'm mad at you for Christmas last year.
Yes, exactly. And so we have had a lot of real difficult conversations surrounding this. Sometimes we've run into where people just have zero idea where their spouse has possibly gone. They're gone. They have no idea if they did not have kids, or maybe even if they did have kids, that the spouse is gone. Nobody knows where they've gone to. I do remember very funny story. We sent a remote notary. We try to make it as easy as we can. because we know that they're kind of doing us the time. They don't love the news we're providing.
Well, and let me just stop you right there because this is why you need a good title person in your world when you're getting divorced. Not every title company would organize a mobile notary to go and meet your ex-spouse to help you sell a house. I mean,
Yes.
that's a huge service.
Right. Because we want them to cooperate with us. We're trying to be as nice as we can because we know that they probably are still mad at you about last Christmas and they're not excited about helping you get this house sold. There's nothing in it for them, unfortunately. So we do try to make it as convenient as possible. Last time we did have a spouse where she did come in and sign, but her new husband wanted nothing to do with it. Felt like this implied that he had some sort of responsibility for the house, which is completely inaccurate. It is just literally releasing this marital interest that the law allows here in Missouri. So we did send a notary to his house, and he did refuse to answer the door and did not come out. And so we did have to go back on that one to the attorneys that were involved in the divorce and see if they could help us maybe push him along to end up signing that. And on the second notary that we sent to his house, he did go ahead and begrudgingly sign it. So
wow.
Sometimes it just takes a little massaging of the situation to go ahead and get that deed. That is why it is so much better to get it while it is fresh, while the ink is still wet on that divorce decree, get your quitclaim deed signed.
Okay, so walk me through. I'm ready to buy a house. I'm not divorced yet. My lender says I can buy. We're good to go. And I come to you and I'm signing all my documents. What are you going to do to protect me and hopefully make things easy for my ex-spouse so that he doesn't have to come back and sign with his new wife later? What's that look like?
So we can't do anything until you guys are officially two single people. So any deeds that are done prior to that are kind of irrelevant. They don't really matter because you're still legally a married person. Their marital interest is still legally tying to the property from an insurability standpoint. So what I try to do is I do have the conversation with the buyer there at the closing table of like, be sure to mention this to your divorce attorney. Be sure that your divorce attorney knows that you are indeed purchasing a new home and that you will need to get a quitclaim deed from your ex-spouse once you guys are officially legally single people. It is just the cleanest way to go. And the divorce attorney should be able to procure that for you and get that filed of the public record. And then 10 years down the road, we do a title search. We see, hey, she signed off on it. This house was his. He bought it during the divorce. And now she's done with that. And we don't have to go and find your long lost ex-spouse and pray that they want to work with us.
But if you do, then you might make it on a YouTube video.
You're
right. Be so fun.
You're right. The other side of this is that in Missouri, the law is that what happens, basically, we have two register of information, two records being recorded. We have the circuit court over here, which is where your divorce case is filed through family court. It's called the circuit court. It's kind of the above bracket. And then family court is the division that you're in. And then over here, we have real estate records. Real estate records are all maintained at the Recorder of Deeds office. Missouri does not have a law that says what happens here in your court case immediately affects the Recorder of Deeds office.
Oh, wow.
Those two don't work together. They don't do like contiguous, recordings of each other. So Kansas, on the other hand, does have that law. So in Kansas, if you go to a divorce, unless your decree specifically says that your spouse is going to deed off of that property, you don't actually have to have the quitclaim deed if the divorce decree outlines that that property is your sole and separate property and excluded from your marital community property.
That's really good to know. So to summarize all of this legal jargon, you can buy a house while you're getting divorced. There is some risk in it if you are not upfront with your attorney, with your spouse's attorney, with your ex-spouse. I've seen it done really well where ex-husband and ex-wife sit down together, because what a lot of people do is they rent for 6 months, right? Hoping that you'll be divorced by then, and you're not, right? Because this process is horribly long a lot of times.
Yes.
And so really, as soon as you know that you want to buy a house, that your job is stable and you're ready to take that step, it is just best to be as above board as possible with your ex-spouse. And that might even mean telling him where your down payment is coming from, because at that point, all the money, and I'm not an attorney, but all the money is still kind of considered marital property. And so you've got to be open and honest with people about the funds, about where this is coming from a real estate agent's point of view. You're my only client. I can just tell you that I've seen people get to the closing table, and then guess what? You just bought a house with your ex. You
Right.
don't want to do that. You don't want to do that,
You
and you don't want to do that.
want to get that addressed right up front. It is always best to put all the known facts out there.
Yes. All right. If you have questions, please leave a comment on the video. We're going to put Jamie's contact information because she's absolutely the best. If you're buying in Missouri or Kansas, give her a ring. And thanks for watching.